to Russia when I was a student. We got introduced to a group of students who were studying English. One of the students passed me a note under the table. On it was written the word samizdat. I didn't know what samizdat meant, but later I found out that it was an underground network writing the truth about what was going on in the USSR, as it was then in 1984. The student asked me if I liked the work of Throbbing Gristle. This was in Novgorod. The student asked me if I liked the work of Throbbing Gristle, and I didn't know their music then. But when I got back to London, I sent him a Genesis P. Orridge record. He said he was a fireman. I said, wow! That must be amazing! Saving people from burning buildings. He said, no! The fire of Lenin burns deep within my heart. In the 1980s, I lived in New York. Across the hall lived a Bob Dylan fan. He used to play Bob Dylan's music all the time. One Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m. I was awoken by Lay Lady Lay. I kicked open his door and shouted sarcastically, "It's a good job everybody in the building likes Bob Dylan!" Recently, I reluctantly watched a documentary about Bob Dylan, and I have become a fan myself. Last week, I was in the studio and I had Bob Dylan's new CD turned up loud. There was a knock at the door. A young man was standing there. He said, "Do you think you can turn it down, mate?"
Across the road with the Bob Dylan film. He used to play Bob Dylan's music all the time. One Sunday morning at 6:30 I was working by Lady Lady Lay. I kicked open his door and shouted sarcastically, "It is a good job everyone in the building likes Bob Dylan." Recently I looked up and watched a documentary about Bob Dylan. I have become a fan myself. Last week I was in the studio and I had Bob's new CD turned up loud. There was a knock at the door. The young man was standing there. He said, "Will you think you can turn it down, mate?"
This is a serious one. My granddad George was buried alive in World War I. My father was obsessed by World War I. He took me to the Imperial War Museum to look at tanks. We would watch any programs about the conflict when they came on the TV. We would build airmen, skips and biplanes. Christmas when I was 9. I even bought him Little Heart's History of World War I. The first, I would fall into sound. The sound was of a powerful waterfall. My mind's eye would see endless colours shifting. It was very abstract and unnerving. It was hearing and seeing pain, but not feeling pain, but feeling fear. The other nightmare was simply sitting in a World War I trench and awaiting the captain's whistle, calling for me to go over the top into no man's land. When the whistle blew, either I would wake up or I would fall into the abstract sound nightmare. Recently I went to the Prado in Madrid. I love the Hieronymus Bosch and the Velasquez, but it was Goya's black paintings that really shook me. When I got back to London, I found I bought postcards of Dali's The Masturbator, Picasso's Guernica, a terrifying Bosch image of half man, half insect people fleeing death, and Goya's Saturn eating his son. Unthinkingly, I decorated the children's doll's house with them. My son was so scared by the Goya image that he would not go into the front room where the doll's house was. I removed the image and I put it behind a jar, the flower jar in the kitchen. He realised it was there and he would not go into the kitchen. I ended up taking the postcard to the studio. My son says that he will never make art, and the thought of making art gives him artmares. Nightmares.
Ha ha ha!